Time moves fast in this dance we call the past. Mental health, a fragile thread, but we'll find strength. Let love spread. Life's a climb, just take a step. Rise above, find your breath. In the darkness we will find a shining light to free our mind, to free our mind. Self-growth blooms like petals bloom, shedding tears will heal the wounds and the chaos. Let's find peace, embrace the pain, let it release.
Relax your mind. It's divine time. Bum, 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 bum. Tell me what you gonna do. There ain't nowhere to run when judgment comes for you, and it comes for you. Mrs. Sigmuno, you can unmute.
Blessings, sister.
Good day, sir.
Good day, sir.
Good day, sir. Like, look, I wasn't even ready for that one at all. You know what I'm saying?
So mellow.
Yeah,
like she can
I wasn't ready for
she's
that.
like, hello, how are you? It's like,
It's a wonderful day in the neighborhood.
I can like, there's times where I'm like, I can
it is.
feel that you're pissed off, but you're still just like, hi, how are you doing today? Like, what's that one movie? Oh, what is that movie where he's like, hello, how are you? Oh, Zootopia with Flash. Hi, how are you?
You got me on that. I don't know that.
It's
and I love my movies, you know what I'm saying? But you got me on that one.
You gotta watch Zootopia. I think it's a Disney movie. It's the one with the rabbit and the fox, and then there's like a whole little thing going on where all the predators. Yeah.
I got 4 grandkids that always watching tunes and anime, and I got one that just be looking around. It's like this.
I know which one you're talking about. He's got gorgeous eyes too, bro.
Little bobblehead.
He is always just attentive. Like he's just.
Look around.
He don't miss nothing.
He don't. I feel like when he gets older, he's gonna be telling you stuff that happened like 2-3 years ago, or like when he was younger. He's like, "Dang, you still remember that?" He'll be like, "Yeah, you said da da da. What does this mean?" You can be like.
and to be honest with you, I do watch what I say because I know they're gonna remember. I watch what I do because I know they're gonna remember.
Mm-hmm. All right, let me do a wee bit of this real quick. See if it connect.
See my headphones work.
Oh no, that ain't it. Dual aspect. I don't want to sit here and put like headphones on because everybody puts headphones on. I don't want to have one of those little indents on my head either. Everybody be gaming and stuff so dang much. But hey, let's go ahead and get into this. So the topic that we're going into is boldly gone where nobody has gone before. Hashtag inner space. Now, last week when we brought up the topic, let's say we all brought up the topic because I was like, I don't know nothing about that. And here we are. I know a little bit now. I'm sure not enough.
You done put your foot in the water, huh?
Yeah.
I'll put it like this. My wife probably wanted to drown me because she didn't know what was going on at the time. I didn't tell her. That's why. Yeah, that's why when you said it, when we were in the car pulling up to Mr. and Mrs. Sigma Uno, and you said it, and I was like, okay, I was like, well, I'm kind of outed now, but she had no idea what it was. So I told her afterwards. She's like, so that's why you were acting so weird? I was like, you say it was weird. Me, I was being cautious. I was like, there was some going on. There was some going on. I'm like, bro.
I can only imagine. I can only imagine.
My guy. Woo. But boldly gone where nobody has gone before. I love the fact that y'all chose that because, in all honesty, you gotta be bold as fuck to do that. Like, true talking, no lie. And I understand. Like, if you're not ready, you're going to freak the fuck out. Like they say, like you never could be ready to have children. I don't even know if you can really be ready to astral project. Like it's one of those things where when it happens, I feel like for me, I have to do it more and more to really get used to it. Because that first time I was like, the fuck is that? The fuck is that? Like, so with me, I had like this, there was like this black ball type deal, and I was hearing like this type of harmony, rhythm, music, and it was almost like it wasn't, I can't really say it was like electronic, but it was like if you took an actual instrument and then ran the noise from the instrument into a computer, but had the computer computerize it. Does that make sense?
Synthesized it, yes.
Okay. And it was a bunch of them. So it wasn't like a set song like rhythm. It didn't have like a beat to it.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I'm trying to get it back right now. Thank you, please. Keep doing what you're doing because I'm still at a loss for words. And that's going, there was like a black kind of like ball type deal. And there was like some symbols that was rotating around it. And it was,
are you kidding me?
No, I'm dead.
I got something to tell you after you finish.
Okay. There was like symbols that were rotating around it, kind of like they were changing colors, like gold, green, reddish, pink, orange, like turquoise, all that, and they were rotating around this like black ball. I was like, what the fuck is this? I was like, okay, cool. But the part that freaked me out the most, where I had to grab, I came back. I woke myself up like 3 times. At first, like I was laying down and I was looking at the ceiling, and the ceiling, I was on shrooms. It is what it is. Whatever. I'll say that shit. Damn what. And I was looking at the ceiling, and the ceiling kind of started to like create like these kind of circles, like they were, like if you put on like 3D glasses and your like depth perception's kind of fucked up, but it's like you're seeing things far away but close at the same time. It was kind of like that. And then they kind of started like to mold together, but then come apart. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And so I closed my eyes. And when I closed my eyes, that's when I started seeing like a bunch of like, almost if you, how do I describe this? If you were to draw like lines like this, and it was almost like a cyber grid. It was almost kind of like a cyber grid. I was like, oh, okay. And then I started hearing like like when the wind blows onto the window.
Mm-hmm. That whistling tone.
Yeah, I was just like, okay. Then my body starts tingling, and like I said before, I've tried to astral project on my own many times in the past, and I've gotten a feeling to where it's like it feels like my body's going to sleep. Like when your leg goes to sleep, you get like that pins and needles. So it's like that, and I started getting throughout my whole body. I was like, okay, I know this feeling. I was like, cool. And then I started hearing that type noise. I was like, okay. I was like, all right, lay here. And then my toes kind of started to curl, and then it felt like I was starting to stop breathing. And I was like, oh. So at first I started like to kind of panic a little bit. I was like, am I dying? I was like, am I dying? I was like, okay. I was like, all right. So I just kind of let go. I just let go. I was like, well, whatever happens, happens. I was like, if it's my time to go, it's my time to go. I was like, whatever. So then that's when that led me to this black ball that I was just describing. I was like, oh, then there became a point to where there was like this, like those dragons at Chinese New Year, how it's like very vibrant colored and everything. It was kind of colored like that, but it looked like a bunch of fucking eyeballs. And I was just like, oh, and it was like telling me to kind of like come over here. And I was just like, and everything in me was just like, nah, fuck that shit. So I was just like, nah, I'm gonna stay right here. And then it was like, come over here, I want to show you something. I was like, nah, fuck that shit. Oh, but then I opened my eyes and I like tapped Anaya to make sure she was there. And she was trying to meditate. And she's like, what? I was like, oh, okay. I was like, all right, good. And so then I closed my eyes. And it was like I just sunk back in right away. I was like, oh, all right. And then I saw that little multiple eyes, funky fucking colors again. And I was just like, and then my whole body just kind of started tingling. I was just like, open my eyes again. And I was like giggling. And I was like, what? I was like, I don't know. I was like, I'll let you know. I was like, I'll let you know. She was like, what? I was like, I'll let you know. And then closed my eyes and took a deep breath and put my hand in between her legs under her thigh. And I went back. And this time it was like this black, gray, whitish fucking thing. Still a bunch of eyes, but it almost looked like it had like whiskers. And then I felt like my body was being sucked towards it. Like it was strange. Like I could like I could feel I was right here, but then it felt like everything in me was getting drawn that way towards it. And I was like, yo, what the fuck? And in my head, it was just like, well, shit, if I'm gonna die, then just go ahead and take me. And then everything was just like, nah, fuck that. This is no. And then I opened my eyes again and I like took a deep breath. And I was just like, okay, I don't think that was right. And then we'll talk about the next part offline. But it was an experience. It was an experience. And the things I gotta talk to y'all about offline, you're gonna be like, oh, okay. Mrs. Sigma Uno will understand exactly what I'm talking about. Impossible, you're not caught up on my story, so you may not understand and know what I'm talking about. It was, and I can't get into it on the podcast, but it shines a lot of light on what I was feeling and what I was going through. Now, Impossible, I had talked to you briefly, and you had told me some things. And I think that's the reason why you gave me the shrooms, was like, this will tell you what you need to do. And it kind of confirmed what I was feeling, but it really let me know what I needed to do. And when I got done with it all, something was like, take a bath. It was like take a bath, take a shower, cleanse yourself. So I went to the shower, and it's crazy because I had went down like as I said before, dogs were going crazy, so I ended up having to take dogs out. I came back in, and then when I got done with that, it was like I was starting to like come down. So I had laid there and kind of just like meditated. And when I was like meditating, that's when it was just like, it is done, cleanse yourself. It was like, it is done, wash your hands of this. And I was like, wash my hands of it. It was like, take a bath. And then my wife was coming out the shower, and she was mad. She was pissed. She was like, oh, so this whole time I'm trying to calm down and you're aggravating the fuck out of me. Now you want to relax. I'm like, I'm not. I was like, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm like, I'm sorry. So then she was like, so then she's like, okay, well, because I gotta go get the kids. I was like, all right. I was like, I'm gonna go with you. And there was things that was going through my head that was telling me to go with her. And I was like, all right, bet. I was like, I'm gonna go with you. I was like, I need a shower first. And she was like, okay, do what you gotta do. So then I go and hop in the shower. I don't know how long I was in there, but I'm talking about like I kneeled in the shower, letting the water run on me from head to toe, washing my hands, washing my body with my hands. Everything got done, cleansed my hands again, and then just laid my head down and let the water just run straight down my body. I was just like, okay, I got done. I felt so fucking drained. So drained. Like, I felt like someone had just sucked the soul out of me, and not a good way. But it's like I was still here. It was just you know how like if you are so physically and mentally fatigued and then you go to sleep and you wake up, but you don't feel like you got enough sleep, so you're just like that's how I felt. And I walk into the room and my wife put on like all white. I was like, why? I was like, why are you wearing all white? She was like, that's all that I have right now to put on until I wash clothes. I was like, okay. And in my head, I was like, white. So I was like, first thing that popped in my head was Labor Day. I was like, you don't wear white after Labor Day. But then I felt like there was a deeper meaning behind that. And the weird part is this is where shit's about to get weird. And I had talked to Mr. Sigma Uno about this last night or the night before. Was it yesterday? Yeah. So last night, I talked to him about this last night. So with that, we end up going, me and my wife end up going down to the car. We get into the car. We had to transfer some stuff from the other car into into the other car that we were taking to go see, to go grab the kids. And I didn't want to drive because I was worried that something would happen if I drove. And now, mind you, what was my wife wearing?
All white.
Call it coincidence, whatever. So white is stuck in my head. We get on the road, it starts raining, pouring down. Can't see nothing. Windshield wipers are, and she's like, what the fuck? Red lights, brake lights. She's like, okay, so she's hitting the brakes. She's getting pissed off. My wife is not the type to really get pissed off. She's getting pissed off of everybody driving. We're going, we're on the highway, we're going. There's a white truck on the side, broke down with the front of it pushed all the way in. I was just like, we're going. There's a white bumper on the side of the freaking highway. I'm like, all of a sudden my wife starts cursing because there's a white like truck that's in front of us just slammed on its brakes and we almost slammed into the back of it. I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh shit, I'm drained. I'm already fatigued. The stuff that I saw and heard was still going through my head, and I was like, nah, fuck that. I was like, okay. Take a deep breath. My wife starts cursing and swerves to the side. A black car, I think it was like a Malibu, almost ran us off the fucking road. I was like, yo, I was like, nah. So then now it's like we get like back into the lane and we're taking the exit to come around come around. She gets into that lane and she starts to turn. There's a mail truck. What color are those?
Right.
On the side of the road, halfway off the road, halfway in the lane, almost clipping. When she swerves out of that, she's like, where the fuck did these potholes come from? Because now the car is rocking as we're hitting like 3-4 potholes on this turn. I take that turn all the time. She takes it every morning to go to work. She's like, where the fuck did these come from? They weren't here this morning. And I'm just like, something was like 23rd Psalms. Pulled out 23rd Psalms, started reciting it 3 times in the car as we're driving. The rain starts to lessen up a little bit. Things get a little calmer. I was just like, the power. The power. I heard my grandma's voice, and it was funny because it was my grandma's birthday too that day. Heard my grandma's voice, and she was like, put on the armor of God. I was just like, bruh. And then my wife looks at me as I'm over here just like, bruh. She looks at me and she's like, what? I was like, yo. I was like, I don't know if it's you or if it's me. I was like, but you gotta calm. I was like, gotta calm down. So then I put on the music, thinking it's gonna connect to my phone. It connects to her phone. It's playing soca. First song that comes on is Circles. I'm like, motherfucker. The next song that comes on is Runaway. I'm like, she has no idea what is going on. She had no idea what I had partaked on, what happened earlier, and the whole time she's complaining about all these things that are happening. And when I tell y'all later what had happened during my experience, you'll understand why I was scared to tell her what was going on with me at that moment, because everything she was saying was aligning with what had happened, what had happened and what was told to me. And that's why I was like, man, bruh, it's wild. So then we end up getting to where we got to go to grab the kids, and she's still kind of complaining. I was like, look, babe, I was like, just calm down. We made it here safely. I was like, I'll drive back. I was like, I'll drive back, or I was like, whatever we got to do. I was like, but I need to go talk to Sigma Uno, like right now. We gotta go upstairs. And then she was like, oh, okay. I was like, so I'll be back. And I ended up texting him, was like, yo, we need to talk, ASAP, serious matter. Go up, fast forward. Later on, he ends up calling me, and I go and talk with him. I tell him everything that happened. He starts telling me about facing your demons, generational curses, hexes, things like that, expunging them, all that. I was just like, oh snap. And she pretty much told me that I'm good. The things that happened were not to think of it the way that it has happened. She was and how you saw me say earlier, impossible, where I was like, it is done. But yeah, I definitely gotta say, I was like, that was my first experience. I bruh, bruh.
Yeah.
Whoo.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the reason why I'm like, the title y'all chose, boldly gone where nobody has gone before. You gotta be bold to really do that, like and then at the same time to have that feeling before you actually go, before you actually leave your body. It does, you do get the thoughts that you're dying. So I mean, you're bold to really continue that, to allow yourself to actually leave the body. Because I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty sure I had halted myself a couple times, because I was just like, yo, I was like, am I? Because it felt like I was started. It felt like I was like, I stopped breathing. And it's funny because when I had did shrooms on my birthday a couple years back, I still got the video because I recorded myself, because I'm doing a little science experiment. That's how I thought of it. Because it was my first time. I was like, if I do see things, I want to record to see, like, okay, cool. How did I come up with these images? Like, is there something that caused me to see these images? Clearly, I didn't see shit on the video, but you have my recording of me saying, I was like, and it feels like I'm not breathing. And I was like, I don't have to breathe. Like in the video, or like 4 years ago, I'm like, I don't have to breathe. Look, I was like, I'm not breathing. And I wasn't breathing. Like I wasn't breathing. I was not. It was like I'm talking, but I didn't feel air. It was crazy. So with this time, when my toes started to like kind of like cramp over, I guess, like I could feel my toes like kind of like do that little claw shit, and then it's interesting. But I'm gonna stop pumping my gums real quick, because I told my little spiel that I wanted to throw out there, which I'm still just like, bruh.
Somebody wrote it. Relax your mind and let your conscience flow.
Hello.
Fuck.
Hey, I'm gonna share something with you, that the only other people that know this story is my sister, my daughter. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm putting on a podcast for the whole world to hear right now.
All right, I was about to ask you. I was like, you want to do that here?
Oh yeah, bro. Trust me, they ain't nothing they can do with this shit. They ain't nothing they can do with this shit over here. You wasting your time. The black ball you talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Before I ever took shrooms, through my meditation, that's why I would go into this place called the abyss of consciousness. It's just darkness down there. So I'm down there, and this is a black ball, but there's like the lights shooting through all these different symbols on this ball.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, what the fuck am I supposed to do? They say you have to decipher the symbol to release the light. I started saying, well, I don't know what the hell these symbols mean. So that's what got me into science and symbology as an art.
Okay.
So that's why for me, everything has to deal with signs and symbols, because everything is going to be an aspect for me to release, understand that light. For me to be on angles with that same consciousness of light. That ball, that black ball you talk about, that's your soul consciousness. The symbols on there, those are the ideas and things that we placed upon our souls that we have to unlock, that we retake our own power.
Okay.
Now, the only person that can release those symbols, if you try to explain those symbols to anyone else, nobody's gonna know what the fuck you talking about. Like, you got to be the one to unlock those symbols. You got to be the one that deal with that black ball.
Okay, because I remember.
And I've never heard anybody else say that but you. So you a bad mojo.
That's crazy, because I remember like when I kept all right. So remember I told you I would like open my eyes and I would like tap my wife, and I was like just to make sure she was still there and everything. And when I would come back through, it was saying like the first time, like when that multicolored eyeballs was like there and tried to tell me like, come here, let me show you something. I'm just like, no. Something was like, I don't want to say something told me, but it was almost like I felt in words, if that makes sense. Because it's like, you know how like if you talk to yourself in your head, it's like we don't have ears to hear nothing, but we can hear it. So it's almost like you feel the words, I guess you can say. That it was like that.
Yeah.
It was like that. And it was just like only you can go within yourself. You are all you need. And that's why I was just like, okay. And then like I said, open my eyes and like tap my wife. I was like, you good? You here? She's like, what do you want? I'm like, oh, okay. And then go back.
You had to know which realm you was in. You had to know which realm you was in when you
speaking of that, we're talking about
there's a book by Robert Bruce called Astral Travel. He teaches you how to astral travel, just like reading a technological book, bro.
Yeah.
Like he teach you step by step how to take it, practice, do certain exercises, astral travel, take a playing deck card, put it on the outside of your window. Don't look at it, of course. Put it outside the window, then astral plane to go out and check it and come back in. You know what I'm saying? I would astral travel and go check the time, not guess the time, but go and see the time, and then come back. And then I would get up and go around there, and then I would check myself to make sure I was seeing the right thing that I was doing. So I started doing the small little things first, and it's like I said, it's in his book. How to astral travel,
and that's what got me into looking in and wanting to try it, because what is the name of that project? There was a CIA project that they did.
The Philadelphia experiment.
The what?
The Philadelphia experiment.
No, they actually had people. It wasn't Looking Glass. They actually had people they used who like would astral project themselves to different, like they would give them like a
remote viewing.
Yeah, remote viewing. They would give them like a 6-digit grid, and these people would actually like go to that grid and then come back and tell them what was in it, what they saw there.
Yeah, that's real, bro. That's so serious.
I'm just so like, bro. But I mean, that goes into like the next little topic that I wanted to ask. Like, what is astral projection?
Oh man, that's a loaded gun.
I feel like you. I'm like, I know somebody has the answer to this, because I
got plenty of information on it, but it's to the interpretation to the one who's perceiving the information.
So like at the simplest term, believing those things are not as though they were. You could literally inject yourself into somebody else's dream.
Yes, for sure.
You
I don't
can
even
actively
want to talk about
participate in their dream.
I don't want to talk about that again. I wasn't in somebody's dream, but
You can,
You asked what is astral
somebody's
projection.
life
She's
was in
telling
my
you.
dream.
you can, you can,
Yeah.
you can make. It's like when I say,
My ass beat for no reason.
no, there was a reason. There was a reason. You just
Okay.
not willing to acknowledge the reason for that ass whooping. That's all that
Okay.
is.
But okay,
Yeah.
do you know we ain't gonna get into this right now. You know what I'm talking about?
So you can, and for the novice that wants to get into it, I admonish them, like I said, to figure out what your dream is, what it is exactly that you want. Because the easiest way to map out how to attain it is to literally astral project yourself attaining it. How did you get there? What steps did you take to get there? What was the map? Because it's easier to put yourself at the end and then come back and then get to it. It's like using MapQuest or whatever to get to some place the first time. And the next time you don't have no problem. Everything is familiar to you. Remember the stoplight. You remember there was a purple fire hydrant. You remember all these different pieces that you weren't privy to those pieces before.
Mm-hmm.
So to again make sure calling an election sure. Make sure that is what you want. Because if you start on a path that is not yours, that's problems. You will run into all kinds of problems.
Check. Good talk. And look, astral projection, if you want to know what it is, I first say it's just a aspect of consciousness being realized beyond the limitation. So it's like you have the ability to not only leave your body, but also step into a consciousness that is all that there is. You can go to other planes and dimensions, other portals, other vortex.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've been to planes where there's just nothing. Buildings, the buildings are light. It's beautiful architecture, but it's nothing but light. I remember in 2015 when my brother transitioned and we're going through the heavens and we going into his plane. I said, damn, I can't breathe. He said, you don't got no body. So to go down into that planet, into that plane, and to see where he is now, yeah, death is not there. You know, the ability to astral plane is the ability to understand your own consciousness. So if you're only a man, it's difficult to astral travel as a man.
Oh,
this is your confinement. This is your confinement right here.
Yeah,
my
right
grandma.
Confinement.
That's it.
My grandma. So I was talking with my grandma. I called her at 11:15. That same night. No, I called her that same night. On her birthday, and I was talking with her, and she was like, I was telling her, I was like, look, I need to have a sit down with you. I was like, because there's a lot of shit. I was like, there's a lot of stuff that's going on with me that I can't explain. I cannot talk to my mom. I can't talk to anybody about it. I was like, you are the only person who's been able to help me so far, make me not feel like I'm crazy or that I'm got demons and stuff on me. Because like my mom, my sister, they're very religious. My sister, she's coming into spirituality. My mom she's like, oh, the spiritual things that happen. She's like, oh no, that's just that's a gift from God. That's a gift from God. I'm like, okay. I'm like, that's understandable. But there's still some things where she's like, oh no, I need to pray about that. It's the devil. She's the rebuked certain things. And
Religious.
it's like,
She's very religious.
Yeah, extremely.
Yeah, that's not spiritual.
Yeah, she's But I'm saying like she's opening her eyes to some spiritual things, but she doesn't realize that it is a spiritual thing. Like for example, she's always dabbed in the in herbs, like dealing with herbology and things like that. But she did not know that was she did not know it is what it is. She just thought that it was like, okay, I'm just making up little natural remedies to help cure certain ailments that's going on with me or with the family or something like that. I'm like,
That's
okay,
where cultures and religions clash.
yeah, and that's why I was like, and it's crazy because when me and my wife went down to North Carolina to visit my sister, and my grandma, my aunt came through, and my mom was there. And me and my sister were like trading books, and my grandma was she was laughing, and she was like, "You could also do this, this, and this." And my aunt was like, "Yeah, I got this at the house." Mom was like, "Have you tried this and this?" Mom was like, "Yeah." And then I was like, "Dang!" I was like, "Hold up, wait a minute. So you mean the whole family?" I was like, "We all just like be tincturing with stuff like this." And my mom was like, "Well, I mean, I only do it for this and this." She's like, "I don't be doing like stuff where somebody messes with me." Mom was like, "Oh no, somebody want to cross me. I got some shit for their ass." I was like, my grandma started like laughing. I whispered in my grandma's ear. I was like, "You know a lot more than you put off." And she was like, "What, me? No." And then my wife started laughing, and my sister was just like, my sister looked, and I looked at my sister, and I was just like, "We have a powerful family." She was like, "Look, we are a gifted family." My grandma was like, "Y'all have no idea." And I told my grandma, I was like, "We got to talk a lot more. We got to talk a lot more." Because I mean, my grandma is ultimately the one that
get that knowledge. Get that knowledge before it's too late, boy.
Like there was some things that I had went through with some assholes in the past who tried. As my grandma said, you can't tell everybody things that you go through. They tried using one of my spiritual gifts against me to make it seem like I was crazy and try to make it seem like I wanted to kill my family type shit. And I was like, first of all, because I get upset, like if I reach a level, a point of being angry, I did not know at the time that it was my ancestors, but I see them and it calms me down. So there was one time in my diary I had wrote down, I was like, it's weird the fact that like when I reach a level of anger, I was like, I see family that's dead. I was like, and it calms me down. And this person tried spinning it to make it seem like I wanted to kill my family. I was like, how? What? I was like, no. But my grandma ended up informing me. She was like, oh, what they look like. I explained. She was like, oh, that's cousin such and such. She's like, that's this person that I was like, oh, snap. She was like, yeah, those are your ancestors. She was like, that's why you feel calmed down because you know that you got that protection. She was like, even though you didn't know it, she was like, you knew it. But anyways, going back to when I talked to my grandma a couple of days ago at that night, she was telling me, she was like, see where the misconception is a lot of people think that we are just flesh. She was like, we're a lot more than just man. We're a lot more than just woman. She was like, that's where everything gets stuck. She was like, because people are so worried about the flesh, but they're not dealing with the spirit. So that's why when Mrs. Sikuno just said that, I was like,
for we battle against flesh and blood, but not principalities. It's written, it's there. It's telling you what your struggle is, but people always try to confine it. They assess it to this containment. It has nothing to do with this containment. But if you want to continue to battle with flesh and blood, you can do that. But your problem is never flesh and blood. Your problem is not the flesh of the individual. It's what's in the individual. It's what they put out there. It's what they project. It's their spirit.
all I can say is, as long as man think he's a man, it's hard to deal with God consciousness. How you deal with God consciousness when you lock down and you're just a man? You're thinking like a man. You know,
and I think that's. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, if you're thinking like a man, how do you understand God consciousness? If you're taking your limiting ideas and then going to God, and God is giving you what you call God consciousness, whatever you want to call that thing. But when you go to God and you get that, you still telling God what's wrong. What the fuck that mean?
Exactly. You still, again, you limiting You're limiting the possibilities. The possibilities are endless. People say that all the time, but they still confine it to flesh, things that they can physically attain. Your gift is not physically attainable. What you're trying to accomplish is not physically attainable. It has physical rewards to it, right? It's got pleasantries that go with it, but the things you're trying to attain are not, they're not tangible. You can't buy happiness. You can't buy joy. You can't purchase fulfillment despite popular belief.
Right.
Because what gaineth the man have the whole world and no soul? You can have all the money in the world and still be miserable.
I'm sorry. I got things I gotta write down. Like this. Hey,
that's why it's on a recording, brother. It's on a recording. Stay in the flow.
Hey, bro, this is look, bro. My feet palms are sweating. That's okay. There's a lot, and I'm gonna have to watch. I'm gonna have to go back and watch this a few times because I mean, there's a lot of knowledge in this one. When you're
talking about that sound you was hearing and that black ball, that's a cosmic melody, but that's only your song.
It's your key of life.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like I'm a father, and all of a sudden Vivo just popped in my head. I dance to the beat of my own drum.
Stop.
Hey man,
is it a me, not a us?
Yeah. However it flows, let it go.
And I know you've seen that video where Terrence Howard was lecturing.
Yeah.
Right. And he was talking about the colors and the notes and again,
yeah,
your shade of green is not my shade of green. You may be an F. I may be an F sharp or an F flat. I could possibly be an E. But like he said, you have a group of people and you guys were at a party and everybody's hype, right? Then you're in another group of people, that same song comes on, your song, you know what I'm saying? You ready to go in and everybody around you is like,
yep.
Right?
All the time.
That's not their key. That's not their song. That's not where they're at.
That's right. That's right.
You got to figure out, like I said, you got to figure out you and all of your pieces and where you're trying to go, because every note does not belong in every song. It can be in a chord possibly, but if your note don't belong there, it's not going to fit. No matter how many times you try to put that note, that chord in that song, no matter how you try to fit it, how you want to rewrite it, it doesn't matter. It does not fit. It does not go. It will not work in your favor. You will not be productive. You will not pass go, do not collect. And it's crazy because when you start matching up the spiritual and religion and science and all of these things actually work together, they harmonize together, they build a chord, but people are so stuck on that one note.
Right.
A song is not one note. A chord is not one note. A melody is not one note.
Come on with it.
So you really have to, again, figure out where it is that you think you want to go, whether you believe you can attain it or not.
I want to add on to that. Don't think where you want to go. Be and see where you're going. Because sometimes when you're thinking, that shit is not no good because you got them.
It's not, because
47,000 thoughts. 47,000 thoughts. And you ain't know which one
processes unnecessarily.
Yes. Being. A place of being. That's the thing that we have forgotten. We've forgotten to be as gods. Most people look in the mirror, they don't see themselves as gods.
That's not necessarily true, but they won't necessarily and it's crazy. And it comes to me every time I have this conversation with somebody. Religious people always want to put a deity out there as being God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Ghost. He is omnipresent, omnipotent, all of these things, right? And that's great. Then they turn around and sing a song. The words of the song is, I am God, all by myself. I don't need any help. I can handle all things on my own. I am the first and the last. Whatever you need, just ask, because I am God. They sing that song like it's going out of style, not even listening to what they're saying. What they're saying is a true statement. That is a true, those are facts.
All right,
But you
we have to put a pin in this real quick just to get back on topic. Are there any dangers with astral projection? What are those dangers, Mr. Sigma Uno?
Not being able to translate the information, the lack of the ability to translate.
Mm-hmm. How is that a danger?
How? Misinformation.
Warning, danger, Will Robinson.
Misinformation can
my
kill
spider
you.
senses are tingling. Oh, maybe I should go right.
Yeah.
Wrong direction. But I mean, like those who may hear this, like, how is not being able to translate a danger?
Okay. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Miss Sigma. No, go ahead. You go ahead.
In the simplest terms, to relate it to something that people just understand, whether or not the sign says stop or not, if you see that shape and it's red and you're driving in a parking lot or down the road somewhere, what do?
Go.
You stop, because that's a symbol. You, of course, only you. But there's symbols that have been put out there just generally that people recognize. They recognize yield. They recognize stop.
Mm-hmm.
The color of the sign means something. If it's green, it means this. If it's yellow, it means this. If it's red, it means this. All those things are signed, and they're assigned a value. They're assigned a definition. Mm-hmm. So no matter whether or not the word is there or not, you know what it means. Okay. When you are projecting and you are being given these symbols, these tones, these colors, they all mean something. Okay. You need to stop when you see it. You need to recognize it for what they are. Then you need to, upon yourself, figure out what exactly that says and what that means. Because again, we can see some of the same symbols, but if they're not in the same order, they don't mean the same thing. If they're not in the same color, they don't mean the same thing. You have to literally study to show yourself approved, because it could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. But unless you figure it out, unless you get and gather the information, you could be walking down a dead end. You're warning danger. You can miss your misdirect. You can miss your detour, your bypass, whatever that is, just for the lack of knowledge or the lack of understanding what you saw. And the thing is, and it says it, one sees, another interprets. There's steps to it. So even if you yourself don't have the answers to those questions, you're not going to be given something that you don't have the means of translating.
Okay.
So you were given what you were given, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he recognizes those things, and he can tell you what they are. You see what I'm saying? Other than that, you just saw a black orb and some symbols. And to you, there are black orbs and some symbols.
Right. Right.
They said, no, bro. That's your roadmap. You need to figure out what your roadmap is saying.
On it. Right. Right.
Mm-hmm. So without it, it can make you or break you.
And just to piggyback on what she said, there's only one one danger to astral travel: miseducation, uneducated. That's the only danger. When you don't have the proper education and the techniques and the principles and the practices on actually how to do that, yes, you put yourself and your consciousness in danger. You do. Everybody want to astral travel because this shit is cool. This shit is cool as hell. But if you're not properly, guess what? Start with lucid dreaming. Learn how to lucid dream. Then go to astral travel. Hell, some people don't even know about lucid dreaming. They want to go straight astral travel. Well, where the fuck you going?
Learn how to realize that you're in a dream and you have control of that dream.
But I had to learn how to lucid dream. I read books and books and books and books and books and books and books on lucid dreaming before I ever read Robert Bruce Astral Travel. After that, I read probably about 4 or 5 more different books on astral travel, and I was putting my own technique together. So it wasn't just like, oh, nah, I'm astral traveling. I learned how to protect myself. So when I go to bed at night and I astral travel, I need to be protected. So you astral travel every single night. Only thing the shroom did was open up access to that neurological pathway. That's it. That's all it did. You now got to understand I can go back and forth there and I don't need no damn shroom. The shroom is just it's to teach you, to guide you, open you up more to who you are. That's why the things that you had. And with the ironic thing is, I seen that orb over 15 years ago, and in 15 years, you have been the first person I ever heard that used that analogy.
God damn. That's wild.
I don't know what to tell you, but that's the only danger that there is miseducation or being uneducated. Because there are a lot of forces out there now. Don't get me wrong. You go out there dummy and you just out there having fun. You're gonna meet somebody and talk to somebody and you're gonna be influenced and everything you think will be good. But you ain't know you dealing with a motherfucker that's ready to tear your soul up. Eat you alive.
Snatched it up. Just
you know what I'm talking about? Eat your soul, nigga. So yeah, that's the only danger, is just really being uneducated. He full right now, Miss Sigma Uno. He full right now.
I'm not like, you don't know why. I'm like, yo, because we still got another topic that we were gonna get into, which I'm like, I kind of want to save it for the next one, the worlds between worlds.
I mean, we can talk about it and we can do.
But I feel there's a lot more, and I'm like, I don't want this to be no 2 hours. That's why I'm just like, yo. But I do want to get into it just a wee bit, because
you want to give him a little taste. All right, go ahead.
So all right, going out the body and seeing the things that I saw, I'm like, that goes to show that there are, like how you said, worlds between worlds, worlds between worlds, worlds in worlds. I'm like, would that be considered the multiverse?
Yes.
So with that poses my next question. This is going to be my last question, and we're gonna start going towards the closing comments and how I like to end this.
All right.
What exactly? You know what? No, I'm not even gonna do that. I'm a pause on that one, because we're gonna do that in another date. I'm gonna go with this one. What type of things can you see from going within and from going outside your body?
Well, first of all, I want to say there's no outside my body. There's no outside my body. It's only an inward journey. Everything that you quote unquote perceive, it comes from within first. It first came with a thought. That thought ain't came outside of you. That thought came from within. So the things you can see from going outside of yourself, that's where the distraction and the illusion is. So as long as you're defining things outside of yourself, you're caught in a systematic delusion of ignorance, control, and power, and greed, death. So as long as you're outside of yourself,
Mhm.
yeah, you're always going to be fucked up. To go within, you're bringing forth a soul essence of love, and you're projecting that out. That's not anything coming outside. You're not defining
Mhm.
anything outside of you. Everything is defined from an inward source, from within. Once that comes about, if you're talking about what's wrong on the outside, that means you're not paying attention to your inner. So that would be my point of going in versus outward, because there's only inward. That's what we back. We going back in.
So, is it safe to say that peace is within, destruction is outside?
Nah, destruction and new beginnings are harmonious things. That's a part of life. That's why we got 4 seasons. That's why when you saw in the fall, you didn't see too many colors, or you had a certain array of colors. And because it was no flowers on the trees, everything was bare, everything was just rotten. When you get into the spring and you ride out now, those same trees you see now have different colors. What you see in the spring is going to be something you see different in the summer. The color's going to change. It's going to change from when you go see it in the fall. So now everything has to do with a frequency. Everything has to do with your ability to conceive that. So if you're at a state where you don't know what you're looking at, or you're defining what you're looking at by the same oppressors who taught you, then what would be that reality?
That it would ultimately be what they're trying to push upon you, which in our case, we are not what we really are.
Okay. So
That's
so
how
in that case, knowing who you are.
it would be that we are man, or that we are less than man, because that's the way the oppressors try to force it upon us.
Okay.
But
and we know that we're not man. So here's the thing: if you know you're not man, who are you and what are you?
I do want to say they were brilliant on doing that. The fact that we are something greater, but they were able to convince us that we were equal, that we were less than equal to them, and then now we were fighting to try and put ourselves equal to them. They did.
Yes,
Ultimate mind
they
trick.
did great work. But
That's a perspective. That's a perspective. That's perspective. Because if I know that your plantation isn't running without me, I know that your kids aren't being fed without me. I know, let's advance it some. I know y'all can't even break the Earth's atmosphere without me, let alone return to the Earth without me. How am I less than you? If you put it all together, it's a mindset. If you want to believe, or you want to be fooled into believing, if you want to accept that you are less than, you can accept that you are less than, or you could be great at what you do. Being great at what you do is a master of invention. If I got to plant this cotton, if I got to go through this cotton, I'm going to invent a cotton gin. If I got to sweep this floor, if I got to go up and down these stairs, I'm going to build an elevator. I'm going to do whatever I need to do to make whatever I have to do great. You can say it's demeaning. Heck, I can even fold a chair. I got a traveling chair. I did that too. So does that make me less than? I mean, really, literally, if you allow somebody to make you feel inferior, that's you giving up your power. That has nothing to do with your capabilities. That has nothing to do with what you can do.
I would say this as well. When you're placed into a system, when you're cultivated in a system, a lot of times your identity and the way you think is part of the system. You have to break yourself away from those ideas, from those beliefs, from those dogmas. Everything that you said is true, but most people, 90% of people, are stuck in a system where someone has to tell them who they are, what day to go praise God, what day to do this, what's Taco Tuesday, all of those
Oh,
things.
don't take my
Somebody is
Taco Tuesday. Don't you see? You want me to be
I'm
great.
not knocking your Taco Tuesday. I'm not knocking it. What I'm saying is they implemented a system, and all over the world, people are doing Taco Tuesdays. That is a system. Ain't nobody sitting around going, why in the fuck am I doing Taco Tuesdays in the first place? Why can't I do Taco Thursday?
You can.
But what I'm saying, it's not
I prefer pasta on
recognized.
Thursday, but you know.
It's not recognized through everybody. If I go say, yo, I'm having Taco Thursday, they're like, you ain't did Taco Tuesday? They're gonna revert back to Taco Tuesday because that's what everybody knows. So the thing that most people that are so comfortable with is the thing that they remember and the thing that they know.
See, and I agree with that statement because you know, fish on Fridays, chicken on Sunday. That goes back to ritualistic.
Oh, there you go. so we've been doing it for a long time. It's just where we now using it for ourselves, and it's benefiting us more to use that power back for ourselves versus allowing others to dictate the system in which we live, creating our own system.
Yo, this we got a lot of info on this one. We boldly have gone where nobody has gone before. With it, we have just hit that hour. I want to go ahead and do my little closing. So with the gratitude and what you learned, I feel like I'm the one who mostly learned on this one. And oh snap, bruh. Always ladies first, Mrs. Sigma Uno.
I am grateful for the space. Inward, outward, I am grateful for the space. Sometimes you need to be not confined to this space to see what it is, in fact, that's in front of you, around you, and your possibilities. I am grateful for this space and platform, again, for those who are like-minded and are seeking to broaden their horizons. It's always good to learn and observe and sit and absorb other perspectives just so that you have a means to not have necessarily resistance, but to at least know where another person is coming from and what their understanding is. It's because without understanding, there's no commonality, and without commonality, 9 times out of 10 is unnecessary conflict. So yes, again, grateful for the platform and grateful for the space.
Yeah, I want to always say right now, it's gratitude, man. Gratitude to the highest level. Just because, you know, as I told y'all from the very first time, the ability to express that divine love. And we are all expressing that through different areas. So I'm always going to be at a level of gratitude, especially, you know, hearing someone else talk about this dark ball within their own conscience. I haven't heard that story in 15 years. When the first I heard it from myself. So that's a gratitude to know that someone else is experiencing that journey. That's a hell of a journey too, of signs and symbols. So what I learn all the time is love is the most powerful thing in the cosmos. What the hell I know.
Bruh. Bruh. Things that I have learned today. First, life is a goddamn journey. Life is a journey. I mean, there's times where you're going to be sprinting. There's times where you're going to be pacing yourself. It is definitely a journey. I mean, Winnie the Pooh said it the best. I often get to where I'm going by leaving where I'm at. And I mean, with that, constantly being in a student's mentality, you're always going to put yourself in a position to where you're constantly learning, but you're also able to teach. I'm grateful to be around so many people who have so much knowledge and knowledge on so many different things. It's like they're not just, it's not like you talk to them and all they can really talk about is like one thing. They can talk about multiple different things and have insight into it as well. I'm really grateful for that. The things that I learned on this episode, cheese and bread. The reason why I'm like, hey, I'm gonna skip some things because I was starting to get overloaded. I'm not gonna lie. That this was a lot of knowledge. I'm like, the colors, the frequencies. We all have our own. Nobody's path is like anybody else's path. There may be times where it's like there may be things that I may do that maybe you had to do too. We might be able to help each other with, but after that, our path is going to go off in other directions, but we might be parallel to each other. You know, I'm like, just like how you said earlier with the seasons. I'm like, things have to have a rebirth. I'm like, and with that, I see that as the chapters in life, how we talked about before on a different episode. I'm like, that is the chapters in life. You have to close something to start something new. I'm like, it all can't just roll together like that. It's like you have to know that sometimes it is done. And I can't tell. I can't wait to get to tell y'all. But also that mindset mentality, how literally everything we need is within us. Everything we need is within us. All the answers that we need, we can get from within. And where we're losing ourselves is by giving the power to others. And it's not always so much of giving the power to others, but also sometimes giving the power to something that is outside of us. And that is the reason why I had that question: what type of things can you see from going within and from going outside your body? That was, as I said earlier, how I had like that inner voice telling me everything you need is within. All you need is yourself. And I thought it was interesting that it was saying that as that thing was trying to pull me towards it, and at first was trying to lure me towards it. And I was just like, okay, cool. But I'm talking a lot. That I'm gonna stop there because I really gotta tell y'all the rest of what happened. But hey, this was another episode of Divine Time. Relax your mind, which mine is pulsating right now. It's Divine Time.
I just want to say one thing before we go.
Yes, sir.
Just remember, everything within, all worlds come within, because we're within the mind of all.
We are within the mind of all.
Didn't it say the mind is all? The universe is mental. So we're in the mind of the all. That's all.
The source. All right,
Yes.
let me cut this because we about to go again.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Whew.
Slow, time moves fast. In this dance we call the past. Mental health, a fragile thread, but we'll find strength. Let love spread. Life's a climb, just take a step. Rise above, find your breath. In the darkness we will find a shining light to free our mind, to free our mind. Self-growth blooms like petals bloom, shedding tears will heal the wounds in the chaos. Let's find